Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Enhance webinar today, which is the preview of the October Wave release for the Microsoft Power Platform. My name is Matt Evans-Peace. I'm the Chief Customer Officer here at Enhance. My role today is to just simply be the moderator for the webinar. Please say I'm joined today by Tom Smith. Tom is one of our Dynamics 365 consultants, and he's going to be going through the sort of detail within the release that we're going to be talking to you about today. Just to explain, this is one of a series of webinars that we run in and around this time of year where Microsoft are releasing new versions of Power Platform, other areas in D365 such as customer engagement and Business Central. I'll talk a little bit about other webinars at the end when Tom hands back to me. But just some housekeeping items. We're expecting the webinar today to last probably about 40 minutes. Does depend on the number of questions, but we've got probably about 30 to 40 minutes of content to go through. Just to let everybody know that we will be recording the webinar. This means that what we'll be able to do is, as part of the follow-up afterwards, you should all get an email that will include a link to the recording, so do feel free to distribute this amongst your colleagues. In terms of the webinar format, everybody that is on the webinar today will be in listen-only mode. We'll keep that for the duration of the webinar just to make sure that we can get through the content and avoid any background noise. But you should also see at the top of your screen there should be a Q&A button. So if you do have any questions, we'd urge you to pop those in the Q&A. What I'll be doing is, as Tom's presenting, is just reviewing the questions, and we've got a bit of time at the end to deal with any questions that you might have, so we're happy to take those. If you have any questions afterwards, then of course you can reach out to us separately, which I'll cover. But I think that's everything in terms of my introduction, so I'll hand you over now to Tom, who's going to take you through the content.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Matt. Yes, so as Matt mentions, today's webinar is to just go through some of the new features that have been made as part of the October release wave for the Power Platform. So some of these features will be made available or generally available as of October. Some of these are more preview features as well, so there'll be things that we start to see in the coming months, and we can start to play around with and test with and see if we want to utilize those in the platform. In terms of what I'll be talking about, there'll be four real categories that I've picked out from the release wave. So some new features relating to Power Apps, so that's both the model-driven apps such as Sales Hub, fundraising engagement, customer service, things like that. And then also the Canvas App Studio as well, so building out your custom mobile applications. Got an area around Power Automate as well, so just talking through some of the features there, as to with Power Pages. And then the final area would be really around some of the new governance and administration features that have been made available to the platform, with some like key security enhancements. So one of the new features that's been made available to model-driven apps is some new grid controls. So you may have seen this creep in, in the past couple of months. Some of these, like I say, when they went into preview, became kind of available by default. But essentially what this is some new interactive controls that you can use from within views and grids within a model-driven app. So they're more user-friendly, more interactive. Some of the key kind of benefits and features that we're getting from this is we can perform aggregation of data within the view, so you can get a count of certain records by certain types or by certain lookup options. We can perform some totaling within the view as well, so doing your sums, min, max, average from within that view. And then, like I say, the kind of interactive elements of this, when you are modifying the view, so creating like a personal view, there's a drag and drop feature within the column, so you can drag each without having to go into the editor and change the order. There's also the ability to adjust the width from within the view itself, and also as well, something that will be kind of handy if you've been used to the 250 record limit within a view, there's now an infinity scroll, so you can keep scrolling down the records without having to change onto the next page, with the ability as well to select up to 1,000 records and being able to perform mass changes or perform actions against an increased amount of records within a view compared to the previous limitation. Like I say, some of the kind of key benefits to this as well is there's a high level of reporting that's being made available within a view. So, like I say, that aggregation and also totaling. You can start to do some bits of calculations from within the view. You don't have to have a dashboard within the application to do that. It makes it a little bit more interactive for users to start to use as well. So this feature is being made generally available from October this year, so essentially by the end of next month, and essentially this will be turned on by default, so users can start to utilize this without having any admin input. There is a potential though that you may have to turn it on for certain tables, which is based on some of the configuration, but obviously reach out to internal admin teams or ourselves to help out with anything like that. One of the next features is the environment settings app. So if any of you are familiar with the legacy interface, so that is still available for administering an application, whilst we can also do that from the Power Platform and Admin Center. We can also then control this from within each environment. So this is again a new refreshed update essentially. So it's moving away from that legacy the legacy interface and into a model-driven app essentially. So back into that unified experience that we're more familiar with. So this is again, like I say, a bit more of an interactive application. If you've had to use the legacy app in the past, it can be quite slow to open and also a little bit slower to navigate. So we've got some improvements there in terms of performance and also accessibility. What this also allows us to do as well is add a level of control to who can administer which environment. So there's a potential that we wouldn't need any admin roles within Azure or Office 365 for Power Platform admin or Dynamics 365 admin. Instead, we can control this within an environment and give people the ability to control the system settings of that environment from within an application itself. And really, just from, again, personal experience of using this over the many years, it's just, again, aligning the experience with many of the other features that we've become accustomed to over the years. The feature itself will have incremental rollouts. So essentially, we won't be getting all of the system settings made available as of the go live. It will be kind of like a staggered release of the different elements within the portal, the application. Sorry. Oops. Scroll through a couple then. One of the final elements to the app as well is we can configure the redirection. So essentially we can say direct people to use the new app rather than using the legacy web client. So this will become previewed by the end of this month, with the expectation this will become generally available from the end of November. And this is enabled by admins within the settings of the environment itself. So it's a toggle that we have to turn on. But again, something in the future I would imagine would be enabled by default once we have that readily available. A feature we've got here that's again something like that I think the community has been after for some time, is the ability for co-authoring within Canvas apps. So this aligns with what we're kind of again accustomed to within other Office 365 applications such as PowerPoint and Word. So essentially we can enable co-authoring for a specific Canvas app. And essentially when we're in the Canvas app studio, we can see other makers that are in the app, and we can also see that the changes that they're making in real time. So what does this mean? So this kind of helps with the collaboration of these custom Canvas apps. So again, whilst previously, customizing the app would be, a single person, or there's a potential that two people could be working on the same app at the same time without knowing, causing some discrepancies within the app, or accidental overrides. So that's all alleviated. We can all work within the same environment now. And essentially we can use that as well for kind of like training exercises and whatnot as well. So jumping on a session and both being in the app at the same time and working on the app at the same time as well. So again, this feature is going to be made, it's in preview now, sorry, and it will be made generally available by December of this year. Now, kind of a caveat with some of these features that become available. There in some of the slides, there are some that are available from January and months next year. What we tend to say is sometimes when the release notes say that it's fairly later within the year period, there's a potential that may not be ready by that point, and essentially will be pushed out to the next release wave. But this is, as you'll see in one of the top screenshot there, is enabled per application. There's just a toggle to enable co-authoring for that app. Moving on to Power Automate. So again, something that we may have seen whilst clicking around within the Power Automate admin center. There's a new performance monitoring experience. So where previously we would have had some of these analytics within the Power Platform admin center, we now have an area within Power Automate where we can review total runs of a flow by whether they've succeeded, cancelled, failed. Check what are the top performing flows. Are we getting any error trends? What type of error codes are we commonly receiving? So again, like I say, just some top level analytics that we can see from within the platform. We're also getting as well a recommendations area. So this is kind of like an interactive experience where we can click on the recommendations and then go and progress that into actually resolving common issues with flows, or reviewing performance. Some flows have taken a little longer this month. What has potentially happened to that flow to cause a delay. So like I say, some of the key benefits we're getting here is a centralized platform that we're kind of accustomed to within the Power Automate development experience already. Both reactive and proactive recommendations that we can action within that admin center as well. And then a historical view, and like I say, all that analytical data from within the same platform. And also as well, if we are using both cloud and desktop flows, the desktop flow runtime and the analytics from that will also be accessible from this single automation center. So that started to go preview a couple of months back in June. Hence why I say you may have come across this over the past few months, with the idea that this will become generally available from November. Again, within the screenshot, it may not be too clear, but essentially this is a pane that you can pin to the side of the Power Automate Center. So where we've got the more option, we can select more, search for the Automation Center and pin that, and then access that when we're within the Power Automate admin portal. So the next one we've got is a Power Automate AI flows. So these, from understanding, are kind of a new type of flow within the studio. So where previously we had the ability to describe flows within natural language and get it and to generate a flow for us as like a baseline to then get us started. The The IO flows incorporate natural language within the creation of actions within the flow, and kind of take it into the next stage that Microsoft talk about, which is the agentification of AI, so making more personalized experiences. So essentially what we've got in here is the ability to write instructions within natural language, and then essentially adding dynamic inputs and outputs from previous actions to essentially personalize the experience of the instruction and create a more dynamic flow through that process. So one of the common scenarios discussed for this so far is creating a more intelligent approval process where we're passing in data from potential SharePoint sites or policies and procedures that are stored elsewhere, and data that we've captured already in Dataverse, so that all that information is accumulated together to help formulate a more sophisticated approval process that we can also then use the AI to create a decision based on the information that is collected. Again, one of the recommendations with this though is building in a human element of review. So there's a review process of someone reading the data that's been generated before then actioning that and passing that onto the AI model. So this becomes public preview a little later this year, so from November, with the idea of it going generally available from February of next year. Like I say, this is one of those scenarios where that could be a little bit later, just because of it being towards the end or towards the next release wave of next year. And again, there's nothing to enable for this once that preview period starts. This will just be available from the Power Automate portal. So moving on to Power Pages. So again, talking more a little bit about Copilot and AI, essentially. And apologies, there's no screenshots on this slide. But what I've done here is just there's around about 4 features within the release wave that talks about the use of PowerFX, which is a low-code language to help develop the websites, and also Copilot integration within Power Pages as well. So really just a summary of those 4 components. So essentially, I think it was as part of the last release wave, or it's within the last couple of months, we've had PowerFX integration within the development of Power Pages sites. So that's more of a low-code approach to be able to create components from web pages within that site. What we're getting now is the ability to generate and explain the formulas using Copilot. I think this is a feature that we also have in the Canvas app, so that was released as part of a previous release wave. So again, just aligning some of these applications with features that we already have, and again, getting the benefits of generating content and formulas with Copilot. We're also getting as well PowerFX inclusion within web templates. So the web templates for sites can be reusable components that can be spread across multiple different pages. So you're creating like standardized components that make use of that low-code language as well. And then the couple of areas around Copilot as well. So the Copilot can use the context of the site to generate both various sections within a page, and then also the page themselves. So like I say, again, a lot of use out of that natural language description to generate content, just to simplify the creation of that site. So like I say, on the benefits element there, we got this is becoming a little bit more time efficient. So generating some of this content at ease, making it a bit more simple. So simplifying the content creation process, using again natural language to generate the content we need, and improve the complexity of the site that we're building, and again just gaining a bit more of understanding of what's being generated. So some of these features around the PowerFX elements will be released as of October this year, and then the elements more around generating content with Copilot will be from January next year. So the kind of final area, what I was talking about, is about 3 new features that relate to both the administration and governance of our environments. So the first one here is similar to the automation center. Again, something you may have come across whilst clicking around in the admin portal. But essentially here we've got a space within the Power Platform Admin Center for the security of environments and the security of the estate, essentially. So it kind of works similar to Azure Secure Score. So it reviews your estate and then provides recommendations that can be actioned to improve the score of that environment. So I think the screenshots are a little bit blurry, or the top one's a little bit blurry, but what you'll see here is there's different elements of policies that can be enabled. We can enable firewall IP restrictions, things like that, just to have a level of control that we weren't able to do before. So again, just a more aligning the Power Platform with security best practice. What does that mean? So we've got a centralized area for all monitoring alerts. So you know, anything, any kind of issues or warnings, these will get flagged within the portal, and we can action those within the portal within a timely fashion, and just make sure that we're on top of any of those problems, and then gain a bit of an insight into the potential vulnerabilities of the site within, again, that central platform. We also get, like I say, like a security assessment of the estate, so measuring the organisational security position and labelling that with various different recommendations, and obviously showing the amount of score that will be improved if those recommendations are made. Now, again, like I say, these are recommendations, so it's not as if we have to apply all of the suggestions. It's more, this is flagged for us to review internally, you know, typically potentially for like a CAB procedure, or, you know, like a technical security review, and then decide whether we're going to apply those changes. The enable of the data within the portal as well, I think it takes up to like 48 hours to populate. So when you're actually going into this on the first time, there's an option for you to generate the insights. So that, like I say, is in preview now, with the option of that becoming generally available from November of next year. Oh, sorry, this year. Getting ahead of myself there. This next feature regarding security is the ability to mask sensitive data. Something that you may be familiar with is the column level security within Power Platform, where we can mark certain fields for, you know, being able to read or modify or create, so locking that down to certain users. What we're getting here is the ability to then mask some of that data. So again, where we've got sensitive data relating to a supporter or contact, or if we've got financial information stored in the system that we want to mask, but at least you know, have like an account number that the last 3 digits, so we can at least, you know, when discussing payments, you can see what we've got on record. So the masking here can be set up using regular expression to then define what kind of a masking of the field that we want to perform. The middle screenshot there shows you what that masking looks like. And essentially there's 2 components to setting this up. We essentially create the secure masking rule, which is essentially that regular expression that masks the characters, and then we have an attribute masking rule which relates that secure masking rule back to that table and field. That is also solution aware as well, so we can add that into our development environment and move that into UAT and production as well. Some of the key features to this, like I say, is hiding that sensitive and personal information. There's the ability to also audit this as well, so we can audit who has accessed to the sensitive information, and also it prevents against some data exfiltration. So where we are querying some of these fields through APIs, or if we're doing bulk exports, that data is all anonymized and restricted when flagged. So even system administrators will not be able to get that information. It's whoever has access to the masking rule. So again, just extending on a feature that we've had for a little while, but increasing some of the user cases where we can start to mask certain data within the environment. So that one will become public preview last month, so we can start to test that now, with the idea that that's going to become available from January of next year. And again, this one is this essentially needs to be enabled through administrators, so we can enable this within solutions and then move that through that standard ALM process. So the last feature I was going to talk about, and again, apologies for no screenshots, which is something I thought would be worthwhile. It's only a relatively small thing that's been introduced into the platform, but it's something that I can see can be really beneficial. So it's being able to share some of the system views that we set up with an app to a security role. So, what does this allow? Is a granular level of access to system views, showing that with specific security roles. If any of you have been working with model-driven apps in the past, I can see that it can get quite condensed with some of the system views in those apps over time. This kind of really helps declutter those applications and really provide a list of system views that are specific to a user's job role, so that we can control what they have access to, and it also adds that extra layer of security to where we've restricted access to a table, but we also want to restrict the views that that person has access to as well. So again, that becomes a little bit more configurable compared to before, where it would be these are the system views that this app can access. If the people have access to to read or create or edit against this table, they will have access to those views. So yeah, something that I can see being really beneficial to keep apps nice and tidy, and to provide a more tailored experience, again, to the data that's being shown. So this one, preview will be starting by the end of the month, and then that'll be going generally available by November of this year. And again, this is something that you won't automatically see. It will be enabled by administrators, again, going through that ALM process of developing the views within development environment, adding the access as part of that, and then moving that through to UAT and production. And that's it. I'll hand over back to Matt just to talk about some of our upcoming events.
Great, Tom. Thank you very much for that. That was really useful. Just before I just talk about events, we've actually had a couple of questions in, so I'll
Okay.
keep you working a little bit longer. Sorry. Paul's actually said loving the new grid controls, which is great. I think the questions are linked actually, but he's just asked, will they just appear in October? Is there anything that you need to do to sort of switch them on? I'm not sure if you covered that, but if you just clarify that.
No, that's fine. No, they'll just become available. They will. So essentially, if a table has the ability of a read-only grid, which most tables do, that'll just be made accessible. If you don't see it on a table, it's likely that that feature isn't enabled. So there's just a small setting on the table itself or the entity itself that needs to be turned on. But like I say, most tables by default will have access to that and be able to use it within the column settings.
Fantastic, thank you. And the other question was just more around, I guess, the rollout, the option of can these changes be kind of applied first to a non-production environment, some sort of sandbox environment? I guess the answer to that is yes, but that's just a confirmation question, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, recommended approach with any of these releases is the release starts to become available a couple of months before. So around this time of the year, it'll be around August time that becomes available. And essentially, when you go in the Power Platform Admin Center and select a certain environment, you'll have a toggle to say update this to the latest release. Now, we never recommend to update a dev environment because that dev environment is used as part of building your own changes and customizations. So it's always recommended to update a UAT just so that we don't impact both the dev or prod environment, because it can introduce dependency problems and things like that. Or if you've got a pre-prod environment as well, deploying those changes to pre-prod, testing them all out before then you introduce it to your UAT environment where you've got your changes, and then you can test those new features against the customer components that you've already got built.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tom. So I'll just talk briefly about events. If you could just skip the slide for me just quickly. That's the one. Thank you very much. Yeah, great questions as well. Thanks to those that asked those questions. Hopefully everybody got some value out of the answers. But yeah, just to mention that we've got some events that are running. I think the slide keeps moving for some reason.
I'll go back.
So this is just a quick view of some of the other events that we've got upcoming. You'll notice that, as I mentioned at the start, we've got wave release stuff still going on during September. We do those every 6 months in line with Microsoft. And then you'll see just as a bit of a flavour of things, we have a combination then of other either in-person or remote events. These are both events that we host, but we also put on our website, which is at our www.mhance.com/events page, any events that we're actually attending. So you'll see there some big events, both in terms of here in the UK, but also internationally as well. Myself and our non-profit director, Tori Cassie, are attending NetHope next month, which we're really excited about, amongst many others, certain ones in the non-profit sector, such as the Hospice UK event as well. So lots going on between now and the end of the year. We very much welcome any feedback, both in terms of this webinar and also any suggestions really for any future webinars. Feel free to speak to myself, Tom, or your account manager. Always keen to get your thoughts and ideas. But that really just leaves me to say a big thank you again to everyone for attending. Hope you found it useful, and we wish you a good rest of today, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you all.